Hi, Chad here with Purple Collar Life, and today's video is sponsored by Andersen hitches. So you can see I have the Andersen Ultimate fifth wheel connection hitch in the bed of my new F350 Super Duty. I'm going to take it back out so I can show you how to install it and how to put the other part on the kingpin of your fifth wheel trailer. I'll put Amazon affiliate links to all these products you see in the video that I can find down below in the description. If you're considering ordering them, we'd appreciate if you use those links. It gives us credit for sending you to Amazon, doesn't cost you any extra money. So the first step is to pull the cap out of the goose ball hole. Just kind of get underneath it with your fingers. And if it's a new truck and you've never pulled this out, that might be a little tight. And then I like to store mine in the side pocket of the driver's side door so that I always know where it is. Now I bought the Reese goose ball kit for my truck. It includes one goose ball and two of the chain tie downs. We're not going to need those in this case, but to put the goose ball in, you want to lift up the black piece on the top of the ball and twist it. That'll let the ball fall right down into the goose ball hole. Then twist this back, and that holds it in place. If you opted for the optional safety chain kit, in some states that's required, some states it's not, so check your local and state regulations. In our case, we figured it better to be safe than sorry, so we included it. You just set it right over top of the ball, like that. And then the Andersen hitch has an arrow system that says install with tailgate in this direction. So we're going to lift this on top of the ball as directed, and we will pull out the pin that goes over the ball first so that we can just set this right in. I do want to say that watching our video is no substitute for following the instructions that came with your hitch, so always refer to the installation manual that came with your hitch. My next step is I want to center this up, so I'm just going to twist it a little bit. I can kind of use the bed design here to get myself squared up, and then I want to push it as far towards the cab of the truck as possible. Again, making sure that I am as close to squared up as possible, just following along these lines in the bed. I know the sun is bright out here today, but we're going to put our pin back through here, and what that's doing is holding the hitch down below the ball. So that's going to hold us in place there underneath the ball. That would prevent you from lifting the hitch off the ball. I like to keep all my fifth wheel tools in one box, so I've got the rigid organizer toolkit here. These are right now on sale at Home Depot for $19.99, so it's a great deal. But I'll show you what I keep in here. I keep my, I'm not sure how you say this, Nico thin wall flip impact set. And you can see this includes double-sided sockets. So one side's 15/16, the other side is 7/8. We're going to need the 15/16 side, so we'll put the adapter down in 7/8, and that gives us our 15/16 socket. So another reason to have this in the truck is these have the appropriate sizes for the lug nuts on my truck. And then I also have a torque wrench. So I'll take my torque wrench and get it out and ready. I know that for this hitch, my instructions say I want to torque everything to 60. So I will adjust my torque up to 60 foot-pounds, and we're ready to go. One of the nice things about this toolbox is it sits pretty low, which I like. I can fit just the tools that I need for the fifth wheel connections. Again, my torque wrench, that set of thin walls. I do keep a level in here. I keep a breaker bar. I'll put Amazon affiliate links to all these things down below in the description, so that if you're considering ordering them, please use those links. And you can see it does have a gasket, so it is somewhat water resistant. When the hitch is in the truck, the tonneau cover is not protecting the bed. So it's nice to have a toolbox that's water resistant. So the next thing we want to do, again, we've got our torque set to 60. We're going to torque down this top bolt at 60. And we'll make sure, again, that the hitch is slid as far towards the cab as it can be, and that we are square in the bed of the truck. You do want to use a torque wrench for this because you want to make sure you are at 60, but you also don't want to over torque it. So I'm listening for that click of the wrench. There we go. Once that is torqued, you want to torque these two, I call these the slider bolts. This is what lets the box slide up and down. You want to torque these also to 60. I like to keep them pretty even. So if I do 3 turns on one side, I do 3 on the other side, and then 2 more made it click on that side. 1 more made it click on this side. Just check to make sure. And I'll check the top one more time. We're going to keep this out because we will retorque those after the camper weight sits on top of here. So again, you want to retorque everything after the camper is on the ball. I did want to note a couple things about this Andersen Ultimate Hitch. This is the raised version. This is a 2020 F350. So it does have pretty tall bed rails here. And then by the time I have my tonneau cover rail on top of it, I am about 23 inches or higher. So I wanted to get the raised Ultimate Hitch so that I would make sure that my camper is up above these bed rails and my tonneau cover rails, and because of the height of my camper and the length of my kingpin box. So you want to make sure you're ordering the right one. The people at Andersen can certainly help you out. If you have questions, just give them a call. Now, if you already have the Andersen coupler on the kingpin of your camper and you were just putting the hitch in, that's it. You're all done. You're ready to start hooking up. For me, I need to do some measuring because I need to follow the instructions here. I need to put that coupler on my kingpin, and that requires that I take some measurements. Now, one of the measurements we want to take is from the center of the coupler block ball socket, or the ball, to the back of the tailgate and the side of the bed. So from the center of the ball to the edge of the side rail, I am at 33 inches. And from the center of the ball to the tailgate, I am at 41 inches. So here's the section of instructions we're looking at now, section 3. You're going to measure the distance from the back of the kingpin block to the coupler ball block and get that distance. You want to make sure that it's shorter than the distance from here to here, from the ball to the tailgate, and shorter from the distance than the distance from the ball to the side rail. Next thing we want to do is put the coupler over the kingpin. I held it here just in place for a minute, but I want to show you how I did that. So the coupler, here's the kingpin. We've got the funnel side and the non-funnel side. This is the funnel side on my as you're looking at the screen on your right hand side. So we want the non-funnel side up over the kingpin, and then we just want to put a bolt through it to hold it in place. And you'll see in a second why I'm putting one through each side. But you can see here, this could be mounted in this position with the funnel back, or rotated around with the funnel forward. Now you can see the measurement's going to be different depending on how that is situated. Now there are a couple measurements we want to take here. From the back of the metal kingpin box to the center of that funnel, I'm at 33 inches right here. And if it's facing backwards, then I'm at about 25 or 26 inches. And those are the dimensions we need to know to determine which way we want this to face. Remember, we measured from the side of the bed rail to the ball in the back of the truck, and then from the ball to the front side of the tailgate. And we want this measurement to be less than that, so that when we're turning or sitting in the bed of the truck, the back of our kingpin box is not making contact with the side rail or the tailgate. But there's another dimension I'm concerned about that it doesn't mention in the instructions. That is this distance from the underside of the trailer to where the ball will sit. And the reason I'm concerned with that is I like to back up and leave my tailgate on the truck. So I have the tailgate down, backing underneath the fifth wheel connection, and I don't want that tailgate to make contact back here before I've got the ball lined up with the funnel. That would be obviously a lose-lose situation for the camper, the truck, and me. So I'm also measuring that distance to make sure that if I go with this rear position, which it looks like according to my measurements I should be in, I've got 68.5 inches before the bed would make contact with the camper. Now I'm going to measure from that ball to the end of the tailgate with the tailgate down to see if 68 inches is too short a distance. So the ball sits right there, and we'd be at 65. So we have only 3 inches of clearance. And unlike a traditional fifth wheel hitch where the kingpin is sliding into and stopping at the front of that hitch, this hitch won't be like that. If I back up too far, my tailgate is hitting the camper. So I have measured multiple times here to try to figure out which way. My inclination would be forward because that gives me more room behind the tailgate to get before I would hit the camper. But looking at, this decorative flange, this decorative shroud over top of the kingpin metal part actually ends about right here. But we've got all this extra because of that decorative piece, which means that if we leave the coupler up there, we're at like 37 inches that we need clearance. We can't turn very far without this hitting the bed rails at 37 inches. So if I rotate this around, I lose a total of 8 inches, 4 inches before and 4 inches behind the kingpin. So I lose 8 inches of space between my tailgate and the back of the camper, making it very tight. But now from the ball to the back, I'm only 29 inches. So I should be able to turn much sharper without this making an impact at the back of the bed rail or the sides of the bed rail at a steep turn. So we're going to start like this first. I just have to be really careful backing up that I don't get that goose ball behind here at all, because if I am 2 inches too far back, my tailgate will make contact with the camper. Now you can see, like I said, I put one bolt through this way, one bolt through the other way. The reason that I have the bolt head here is because since I bought the safety chain kit, when I put the washer, the lock washer, and then the piece that the safety chain connects to, you don't want that piece to be back here and make contact with our latching system over the goose ball. So this bolt in the back, you want to go bolt head next to this coupler latch system. We're just going to screw these temporarily to hold everything in place. So we'll have one of these chain holders on each side of the coupler. And those are still going to let me move this and rotate it around because I want to make sure I get it squared right about there. Now there was another set of instructions that said if you can fit this piece underneath here, go ahead and insert it. So you can see it does fit like a feeler gauge. So I want to line these holes up with the set screws that will be coming up through here. And if we take a look at the underside here, you can see those set screws. There's 1, 2, and then 3, 4. Those are actually what press against this plate to hold the hitch in place from rotating. These pieces are just holding bolts above the kingpin to hold this onto the kingpin. It's these set screws that hold everything up against and keep you set in place there. So again, we're going to need our torque wrench. We want to reduce the torque down to 40 pounds. And then you want to use a nice long 1/4 inch hex bolt. So it needs to be long so that it can reach up through the funnel area. A short one will not reach. And you want it to be impact quality, not standard quality from Harbor Freight. Ask me how I know. You can see the tip of this one broke right off. Now remember, I want to get my little adapter plate here lined up with the holes. I want to make sure I get that plate lined up properly. And it looks like I am on both parts. You want to keep the coupler square on the kingpin. I just want to start snugging these all up first. Okay, I should be getting close to reaching torque here. Now these ones you just want to snug according to the instructions. So we don't need to go crazy here. We'll just tighten them up a little bit, because if you tighten them too much, they'll break the plastic funnel housing, and you do not want to do that. I like to try to get these lined up so the chains are pointing towards the direction I want them to go. Now the coupler disconnect lever, this is what attaches this coupler over top of the ball in the bed. You usually want to mount that somewhere that you can reach it. You don't want it to get caught or pinched on anything. So I'm actually thinking about mounting it kind of up here somewhere. But before I connect and do that, and before I use self-tapping screws to mount that on, I want to back under here, see how this all looks, and then we'll get a better feel for how this is going to ride on the truck before I permanently mount this somewhere. So I intentionally left the camper at exactly the height when I disconnected the old truck with the conventional fifth wheel hitch. And you can see the new truck sits a little bit higher, first of all. The new truck sits a little bit taller, first of all. But that ball needs to get underneath that funnel. So I've got to raise the camper up quite a bit from what I'm used to. I'm actually going to lower the ball down. The ball does have 3 height positions and I am in the middle. So I'm going to lower it down to the lowest one so I don't have to lift the camper quite as high. But you can see I'm really going to have to lift it up to get this truck underneath it. And then we'll have to see what the slant back the trailer is once the kingpin is up on top of that ball. So to adjust the height of the ball, we're just going to pull the pin out, let it go down to the next hole. Now we're at the lowest possible hole. Start extending these legs up. So you can see why I wanted that rear high camera mount. Lets me see right in the bed of the truck. Nice line there to align with the fifth wheel of the camper. You can zoom in if you want to get closer to just the hitch, which is really nice. But I can also see really well right out the back of the truck. I can see that ball and where it's lined up. Now remember, I'm watching two things here. Watching that ball line up with the funnel right and left and height, but also my tailgate distance to the camper, which already looks like I'm close. So I'm gonna get out and check. Set the emergency brake because we don't want to coast. We need to go a little bit higher. Now we've got about 7 inches before the ball is in the coupler, and about a foot before the tailgate hits the back of the camper. And I think we need to go up just a little bit more. We'll see if that lines us up here. Okay, so I don't think we're quite perfectly lined up in the funnel. We'll get out and take a look again, set that parking brake. So I've got to go back a few more inches, and it seems like I actually need to be a little bit more towards the passenger side. But what I'm afraid of is that if I'm not square with the bumper, I will be in trouble. Because remember, we've only got 4 inches of space to play with. That looks like it's more lined up now. Use my camera and my zoom view. You can see exactly how far back to go. It's going to be close. Well, my friends, that looks pretty good. And here's our, remember, this was one of my biggest concerns, distance to the back of the camper. I can just fit my not open hand in there. Now this is the piece that attaches, locks down over the ball. I've got this just sitting here for now because I need to figure out the best place to mount it. So I'm going to lower the camper down onto that ball. See how well that funnel aims it into place. That's a pretty cool system. I can see the weight starting to go down onto the truck. Just lifting it off here because I want to take a measurement how much higher the camper has to be than it was before. I drew a little mark on my leg here, on the leg of the camper, the front leg. I had drawn that Sharpie mark. You can see we are exactly 5 inches higher lifting the front of the camper to get on to this hitch. Now let's see, once we lower it, what our difference is then. The other thing I want to do, and maybe it doesn't matter at all, but it does bother me a little bit, I don't want this pin touching the funnel, which I saw it was doing it, so I'm just going to rotate it forward a little bit. We'll go ahead and retract those front legs again, put the ball back in the funnel. Okay, now the ball's inside the funnel. We should be able to twist and lock this locking piece. So remember, we'll mount this somewhere once we see the best place to put it. But push in and twist to lock. Now we should be locked on the ball. One good way to test that, we'll hit the extend button and see if we lift up the truck. And yes, we are lifting the back of the truck. So we'll retract. I heard the truck creak there. The weight is officially all on the truck now. With the weight all on the truck, we are just 1/3 of an inch higher than we were before. But remember, that was unhitching from the truck, so by the time the weight was on the truck on the old truck, it probably sagged a couple inches. So we're sitting, I'm going to say, probably 3 inches higher on the new truck than the old truck. But as far as the height of the camper goes, actually looks pretty good. We will have some articulation. I was worried about this distance right here, so we'll have to see, you know, when the truck goes over turns and bumps and the camper and the truck are on different levels, we'll see how close that bed rail gets to the camper. But so far it looks good. I'm going to attach those safety chains, but for now it's super hot out. We're going to go inside, get a glass of water. When you're all done camping for a while and you want to take the nice lightweight hitch out of the back of your truck, I like to just use a breaker bar with the sockets that I showed you at the start of the video when we were installing. And you first want to loosen these 2 bolts. I like to do it nice and even. Try to release them on this about the same pace on both sides. You don't have to go too far. Those are just pinching in on the bottom tube so that it can slide up and down. Then you're going to loosen this top bolt. And you'll feel when it starts to loosen up. You don't have to go too loose with it. That's probably good. Down here at the bottom is our retaining pin and clip. We're going to take the clip out, then the pin, and we should just be able to lift right off the goose ball. I like to put my pin and clip right back in the hitch so that I don't misplace them. This is nice and light. One person can lift it out. And then our last step is to remove the goose ball. Just lift up and turn. Pull that out. Put it back in my goose ball case from Reese. And then you'd want to put the cap back on here. I keep mine in one of the little pockets of the door so that I can just slip it back in when I'm done. If this video informed or entertained you in any way, we'd appreciate if you'd give us a thumbs up. It helps out the video, helps out the channel. And if you're not already following Purple Collar Life, we'd love to have you click that subscribe button and follow us along on our rural Pennsylvania adventures. We want to thank Andersen Hitches for sending the hitch to us and sponsoring this video. Now I'm going to put this back in the truck. We'll connect to the trailer because it's time to go camping. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again the next time.